right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. Inside Pages this morning is looking at two very important subject matters. Of course, we've just finished eulogizing the Honourable Member of Parliament for Ejisu and Deputy Finance Minister John Mponti-Akuma. As you can tell, most of my resource persons were here having seen some very kind words based on either personal relationship they have with him or what they heard about him. And also the advice to everybody that we must all be careful. Especially with our security, what you eat, where you socialize, what you drink, and so on and so forth. These are lessons to all of that. I mean, we're not saying this because we're saying that we know it as a matter of fact that it was poisoned, but when they say when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, you know what it is. Anyway, so we're not getting to our second issue. Our second issue has to do with some very interesting development this week, where a very good friend of mine, actually, Richard Delaskai, who is he sits on the morning show on City FM and also a private legal practitioner. And he's decided to go to court, and he's actually sued the Speaker, the President, and the Attorney General. He wants the court to also declare as unconstitutional the Anti-Gay Bill. Now, we are not lawyers, we're mere mortals, so we're trying to get a private legal practitioner, Justice Abdullahi, to help us understand what exactly is Richard Sky asking the court to do, and whether by the operation of what Richard Sky has done, the president is estopped or is injuncted from signing the bill, as the president himself has said. He said the bill is yet to come to me. When it comes to me, I'm sorry, I can't sign it because the matter is in court. Remember, there's actually another matter in court even before Richard Sky's, one Odoy something, sometime last year in June. So it is important that we give this background so that when Justice Abdullahi comes in, we will understand where he's coming from. Justice Abdullahi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages. Okay, Justice Abdullahi is not on yet. Okay, so I'll start with Honorable Murtala Mohammed on this matter, because this matter actually emanates from them as members of parliament. So, Murtala Mohammed, this bill that when I say you and your colleagues have passed in parliament, it doesn't seem to be sitting down well with the diplomatic community. We've heard the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, who says a lot of things are going to change if this bill goes through. One, we're not going to our trade relations with America and some other countries is going to be undermined. Two, we will not be able to hire the best and recruit the best from America because some of them are homosexuals. She's talked about the fact that this bill, according to her reading, undermines the fundamental rights of Ghanaians, even if they're in a minority. All of those things is going to have a devastating diplomatic relationship with these countries. We've also heard the IMF. They're not happy. The World Bank is not happy. Why did Parliament decide to go ahead to pass a bill that potentially can cripple the economy of this country, as the American ambassador has said?
Moro, when the Nazi Germans under Adolf Hitler had invaded France, and they were at the brink of invading the United Kingdom, then Prime Minister Churchill, his security advisor, who was called Halifax, on the floor of Parliament of United Kingdom, advised the Prime Minister that they should surrender to the Nazi Germans, because having invaded France and virtually most countries around the territories of Western Europe, for them to protect lives and save more lives from being lost, he thought that it was wise for them to surrender to the Nazi German. Do you know the response of Churchill to Halifax?
Right.
He said, even if we are lying on the floor of this parliament, choking in our own blood, we shall not surrender. So I want to tell the American ambassador and President Biden and the British Prime Minister, is it Sunak or what's the name?
Yeah, Rishi Sunak.
He was not even elected, by the way. Nobody elected him to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And the British High Commission, that even if we're lying on the floors of Ghana, on the street of Ghana, choking in our own blood, we shall not surrender. It's utterly nonsense. Look, this LGBTQ nonsense. They have weaponized aid for the sake of the LGBTQ. Anybody who did law will tell you that in the law class, you do common law. You are looking at the history of our laws. What is common law? It is just the English customary laws. Now, our laws are laws that we combine the British common law and our customary laws. The British common law was created out of their own customary laws. And customary laws are laws that you make to regulate the conduct based on things that are in sync with your values, your way of life, your customs, and your traditions. Now, we have our laws in Ghana, which is the combination of both the so-called common law, and I would substitute it with the British customary laws and our laws, because we were unjustifiably and criminally colonized by these people. Now, in Britain and the entire Europe, particularly Western Europe and America, to engage in polygamous marriage is prosecutable. It is prosecutable because it is not in sync with their values. Our part of the world, it is not prosecutable. Is it? I'm asking you.
Potentially polygamous.
I say, is it prosecutable?
No.
Our laws accept it because
potentially polygamous.
Our laws are a combination of both the customary laws and the so-called English common law. Because our values, our way of life, accept that particular system. And that is why it is acceptable here. Now today, we are being told that your way of life is terrible. We want you to take away that way of life, and we bring in our way of life because that is in sync with our values. Meanwhile, we don't live there, we live here. Now, many people do not know the meaning of even that LGBTQ nonsense. Many people do not know. Tell me, and I'm happy that he is a reverend minister. Tell me whether the religions in the world have ever had a convergence of acceptability on an issue than our collective and universal position against LGBTQ. All religions in the world, if there's anything that we have all agreed collectively and universally, acceptable religions in the world, is our collective and universal opposition to this LGBTQ nonsense. Now we are being told that you either accept it or we deal with you. And we know professors in the universities. We know the threats they receive. Departments of universities have been threatened that you either speak for this LGBTQ or we cut funding to those departments. That is what happens.
You know this for a fact?
Oh, it's a fact. It's a fact. Look, why is it that when they go to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, they don't tell them that we won't assist you if you don't support LGBTQ? Nonsense. Why is it that they don't tell them that?
Yeah.
Why is it that when they go to Saudi, they go to Dubai, they go to Qatar, they go to Kuwait? Why are they not talking about LGBTQ? To the extent that the position of Qatar against LGBTQ people and the activities in a global event such as the World Cup, where they made it very clear that they won't accept such nonsense on their soil, they didn't do anything. They allowed those things to happen. Yet they come to us because we are so hungry and we don't have principles, and we think that without the support of the West, we can't survive. They threaten us and weaponize this. I think that this utter nonsense ought to be condemned, and we need to condemn it with all the vigor and the strength we have in it. Even if it means we should go hungry, let's go hungry and protect our dignity, our integrity, and our way of life. Moro. And in fact, and I say this with all the seriousness, Dr. Baumia should tell us his position on the LGBTQ thing. He should tell us.
He's not the president.
No. I am saying that you tell us because, one, as a Muslim, Dr. Baumia is a Muslim just like me. Allah's position on LGBTQ is uncompromising. And Allah says in the Quran that when people engage in it in any society and you don't fight to stop it, when the punishment of Allah comes, that punishment it will come in the form of birds flying with baked stones, and each bird shall drop the baked stone on every single individual in that society.
Honorable,
whether you engage.
I'm going to beg you. No, I would allow you to continue, but Abdullah has been on for almost 1 hour. I think
No,
it's
but
only
let me just
fair.
finish on this.
No,
on
no,
this
no, no.
quotation.
I beg you.
No, it's just a
Otherwise, you would
quotation.
have to leave us. You are with us. I beg you, because the quotation will even remind you so that you know exactly where to start from. Let me quickly do this. Justice has been on for too long. Justice Abdullahi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages. Hello, Justice Abdullahi. Hello. Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, thank you very much. What? It looks like
can you hear me?
you just finished playing soccer.
I had to.
Okay, all right. I beg you. What is Richard Sky's concerns? What are his issues? Why is he in court?
Moro, if you've noticed, Richard has become one of the guys who is trying to protect the public interest, if you don't just put it that way. But this is not the first time, as far as I know. You remember in 2021, when the Parliament of Ghana rejected the president's budget, Richard went to the Supreme Court on those matters and also questioning the quorum and the counting and all the other issues that emanated from that issue. Of course, at the time there was also the Justice Abdullahi as Attorney General also pending, and a few other cases. And so I would want to see it from that public-spirited perspective, that he wishes to also play his role as a citizen to ensure that the interest of whatever beliefs and convictions he has is protected within the law. As to his real motives, I think that one can only be determined by himself and maybe those closest to him. Beyond that, I do not know how else to determine his fate beyond apart from the suit that he actually filed. I think the suit would give us a fair ideas of the matters that he seeks to unravel before the Supreme Court, or he seeks the Supreme Court's intervention. And so, I don't know whether that is what the essence of this question is. So really, essentially, that's what I can say for the motives of Richard Sky.
When he says the bill is unconstitutional, what does that mean? Does it mean it is against the Constitution of Ghana, or the procedure that actually led to the final passage of the bill is actually problematic, and that's what makes it? When he says it's unconstitutional, help us understand what he means by that.
Okay. All right. So for starters, per our constitutional framework, you cannot question the procedures that are adopted by Parliament in the discharge of the obligations, because the activities of Parliament is supposed to be a closed book to the entire world, and so nobody has the authority to intervene with regards to their procedures. And of course, Justice Abdullahi, an Attorney General, has sought to interfere in that kind of thing, and I'm sure understands us better. And so, but however, when a parliament makes a decision, that decision can be questioned by anyone who thinks that the decision of parliament is unconstitutional. But the procedure cannot necessarily be questioned because parliament is supposed to be masters of their own procedures. And so, so it's usually when a decision of this nature or a suit of this nature comes up, it is usually targeted at the decision that has been made, not the procedure that was adopted. And in this instance, we can say with all from his angle, that he's simply questioning the decision made by Parliament to pass the Anti-LGBTQ plus bill.
Does Parliament have the mandate, the authority, and do they have jurisdiction, for use of a better, but can Parliament, let me simply put, can Parliament enact laws that seek to take away the right of persons whom the House believe actually don't deserve that right at all?
So there are very few areas in our constitution that Parliament cannot enter. And some of those areas are procedural, so they can do it, but after following a specific procedure. And there are some few others that they are completely barred from ever entering. But this particular decision of anti-LGBTQ plus is not part of the areas that Parliament does not have jurisdiction, to borrow your word, to interfere. It's not part of them. So indeed, Parliament has the authority to make laws beyond the laws that, as I've indicated, beyond those that the Constitution completely prohibits. Parliament can indeed make any other law.
My penultimate question to you before we take Lovas, because it looks like you want to go back to the post. The issue about the president saying that I am aware that Parliament has passed this law or a bill. Even before the bill gets to my desk, I want to say that I am aware that a Ghanaian or a concerned citizen is in court challenging the constitutionality or otherwise of this bill. And so I am sorry. Even if the bill comes to me, I cannot sign. Is the president right? Is it spot on that?
I think the president is simply being mischievous with his position on this issue. And that is not in doubt. I don't even want to refer to the president's previous conduct in regards to other bills. But clearly, in this particular instance, he's been quite mischievous and he's adopting a very convenient means of avoiding the obvious. So I think we can disregard those comments of the president because it's clearly a wrong position that he has adopted. First, the president doesn't have that authority to say so. He has a specified date, date within which, if the bill appears before him, he has to assent to it. If he has any concerns, he can only raise it with the Council of State. And if the Council of State decides otherwise, he has the obligation to assent to it. Otherwise, if he's vetoing it, then if he refuses to sign, then Parliament can marshal their forces. I think it's usually 2/3 to compel him to sign. And in that case, he cannot do any other. He cannot do otherwise. So the president doesn't have that complete veto to refuse to assent to a bill when it hasn't been appropriately passed on the altar of a pending suit, particularly when the judiciary has not placed an injunction on him to refrain from signing. And you would notice that in public interest cases, the judiciary is highly unlikely to place any injunction on public conduct because it is supposed to inure to the collective good of all of us. And so it is unlikely that the judiciary would do that. And if you remember, the e-levy case, the Supreme Court was quite emphatic on this position that I've just indicated. The e-levy case, when the NDC, led by, I think, Haruna Idrisu, went to the Supreme Court for an injunction restraining the president from assenting to the bill and all the other implications that it came along with. The Supreme Court was quite clear that when it comes to the public interest, no, your private interest cannot override the interest of the entire 30 million, close to 40 million people. And so the public interest would always have to be protected. And there's no way any injunction can refrain or seek to restrain the president or any other public officer from exercising his constitutional mandate. And so the president is simply just being mischievous on this. And and his conduct is just too convenient for my liking.
Look, even if this matter hadn't gone to court, and that's my final question, if this matter hadn't gone to court, we could have used the president, a historical antecedent to predict what he would do. You remember the witchcraft bill? One of the key reason why he said he's unable to sign it is because there's going to be a charge on the public purse. And the same logic we're told actually applies to this, that put aside the constitutionality matter, but this is a private member's motion, which was tabled, which has now culminated into a bill. And so once it's going to have a charge in the public purse, the same logic would apply so that there's consistency. It's going to be a charge on the public kitty, so I will not sign. Help us appreciate this whole thing about private members' bill, which would have a charge on the public kitty, and the difficulty the president has in signing it off. What is it about? What is this theory?
So this is exactly why I said that we didn't want to go into the previous conduct of the president, because if you really go there, then you can see the inconsistency with the position of the president right from the day he became a president. He has been inconsistent in almost every position he adopts. And he is clearly, you cannot never trust his word when it comes to some of these matters. He doesn't come out as a trustworthy person with regards to some of these issues because of the inconsistencies and the contradictions. Now, when it comes to the issue of a bill having what's it called? Financial implications. So far, unfortunately, I do not think that we have any authority from our judiciary speaking to this issue. But the essence is that Parliament cannot pass a private member's bill. So usually because the state is a sponsor of all laws. Elsewhere, private members of parliament are able to bring their own laws. And in our case, we have accepted that, okay, we can also do the same thing here. However, we have put a caveat there that if you want to bring any bill to parliament as a private member of, as an individual member of parliament, put it that way, that I think that will be very clear to the listener. As an individual member of parliament, without having the support of the executive, the checklists are that you should ensure that that bill would not have a basis in making any withdrawals from the public purse, or in particular, so it wouldn't have any expenditure implications on the public purse.
Okay.
In other words, it's not as if the bill when it eventually becomes a law, you wouldn't have to spend the monies earmarked for other matters on that law. And usually, once you pass this checklist, that law can then go on, be passed, and be assented to. Now, my appreciation of the law in regards to this issue is that this would have to be done before the bill actually gets passed. This checklist has to be done before it gets passed. So my appreciation of the law is that that particular checklist has already been passed. And so if you have passed that stage, the president no longer has the right, because he has members of parliament in there, he has his attorney generals in there. All of these persons have they have input into the making of a law. Okay. And if these issues were raised at the time the bill was tabled, and it still went through the process, I do not think the president has that authority to say that, to do the kind of things he does, particularly when he did it with the the witchcraft bill. Okay. He doesn't have that authority, as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't have it. If he has any right, it is to go to the Supreme Court to seek an interpretation or an enforcement of it. But he does not have the private authority to determine whether a particular bill has an implications on the public purse, or a particular bill is unconstitutional. The president doesn't have that authority. Okay, Justice Abdullah, do this for me in just 1 minute. This matter is not law yet. So what is Richard Sky taking to court? I've heard people ask that. Sorry, I didn't get that, Moro. I've heard people ask that this matter is yet to become law. So what are you sending to the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court interprets the law as, a legal matter which is before them, but this matter is still an act. It hasn't even gotten to the president yet. So what is this guy taking to court? And that is dead on arrival. Well, once Parliament has passed it, it is a law. I can understand that it becomes effective in implementation only when the president assents to it. Okay. And so until then, it cannot be an implementable law. It's not an implementable law. It is not applicable as it ought to be. But as to whether, like I said earlier, any decision of Parliament is capable of a suit. If Richard went to the Supreme Court on the basis of interpretation, maybe that might be a different issue to be discussed. But I do not think that, I think let's remember that when it comes to the Supreme Court's jurisdiction in these matters, it is not just the interpretation of it. We also have the enforcement of it. True. And so, and in fact, there are several other angles that the Supreme Court can come up with in determining the legality or otherwise of the decision made by Parliament. I would like to call it a decision because it's still a bill until the president assents to it. And so once it's a decision, then the Supreme Court indeed has jurisdiction to make an interpretation of it, or any determination that a party brings to the court of. Right. Thank you so very much, Justice Abdullah, for your time. It's been wonderful having you. Have a good day, sir. Thank you. It's always great being with you. All right. So I'll come back to Murtala. My deepest regards to my colleagues in the studio. Sure. I'm sure the family is listening. Anyway, you were giving us some Quranic. Yeah.
State his position on this matter.
Okay.
And I'm calling on him to fear Allah and state his position, because his position must and ought to resonate with the position of Islam.
Okay.
We have been told that anytime they are addressing him, they will have to add the Al-Hajj. And I'm wondering whether without the Al-Hajj, people wouldn't know he's a Muslim. The Quran position is uncompromising. The Quran position says that we should fight it. When they say jihad, unfortunately, there have been a lot of misinterpretation of what constitutes jihad. Jihad could mean, yes, fight with your strength. Jihad could also mean fight with your tongue.
Right.
And when they asked the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that what is jihad? They say when you fight for your religion, you are fighting for jihad. When you fight for your land, when you fight for your wealth, when you fight for your children, your offspring, you are fighting for jihad.
Okay.
And they asked him, how do you fight for it? He said, fight for it with your strength. If you can't, fight for it with your tongue. If you can't, fight for it in your heart. But when they had to say that, but that is a very weak faith.
All right.
Now, the reason why Dr. Bawumia's position is not only necessary but essential is, one, because he's a Muslim, and many Muslims look up to him. The Quran says that when people engage in such act and you don't fight it, that the punishment of Allah comes in the form of beds carrying big stones, and each bed shall be instructed to drop the stone on each individual in that community or that society, whether you are practicing it or not. So it means that we must fight it. And his position is very important because he's a Muslim. And I'm calling on him to state his position, because President Mahama stated his position. Even President Nanado, who dilly-dallied initially, subsequently had to state his position when he met a Christian group, I think somewhere in, was it Pentecost, right? Presby, and stated his position. Now he must state his position. And I think the reason why this must become an electoral issue, because it defines who we are. It defines our values. And I want to tell everybody, you don't necessarily need to go to United States of America or to Britain before you can be a human being. For the entire 4 years, in fact, my US visa expired in 2006 and I haven't even applied for it. I haven't applied for anywhere. So I'm saying that I know how they threaten people. Even some people applied for visas to undertake official assignments, and they have been denied visas because they refuse to succumb to what they want.
Okay.
We must stand up, and every single individual must speak out. Now, we have been told that, I saw a video, and my sister was also making references to that, where some people are threatening that they know MPs who are engaged in it. Me, I want them to mention the names so that we know those who are hypocrites. You are either against it or you are with it.
Okay.
And I'm saying that we must fight this because it defeats our purpose. Nobody says that you can't do whatever you want to do in your bedroom. But to force, to push down the throat of our children, push down the throat of everybody in this country, we need to fight it. In any case, I have seen videos where a 15-year-old girl says to the parents that she is a cat. And she crawls. No, I'm serious. They put her food like the way they serve cat. It's madness. And I realized that there are a lot of people who haven't even read the bill. Now, on the issue of the land, I'm just concluding on this. Now, can any arm of government, whether the judicial or the legislature, determine to another arm, in this case the executive arm, how they discharge their responsibilities? Now, a bill has been passed by Parliament. The process to assent is exclusively given to the executive arm by the Constitution. Now, if you want to challenge the decision, wait until the president takes his decision on that. But you know, the president made a statement when he met the diplomatic community. And he said that he's aware that there's a gentleman who has gone to court when the writ was not even filed. He made the statement. It was the following day that Richard Skies filed the writ. So where did the president get the information? Where did he get it? Because as at the time, the president, the day he was making that statement, there was no case at the Supreme Court.
So what are you suggesting?
It means that the president knew something we didn't know. That is what it means. And for me, this is enough ground for that case to be thrown somewhere.
But there's
And I'm
another,
not looking.
but there's
Look,
another, there's another rating court. There's another rating court. I think about one Odo or something. That was
that one has
last
been
year.
in court. That one has
June,
been in
June 2023.
exactly before even this
So
bill.
that's not what the president
No,
is referring
before
to.
this bill was passed by Parliament. So if the president said that he is aware that a gentleman has gone to the Supreme Court seeking interpretation of it. In any case, when there was no case in court,
Okay.
so you see that there's some connivance. I am saying that look, this thing, Dr. Bowman, and I'm emphasizing on this. People can say it has nothing to do with politics, and Allah bear me witness. He needs to state his position
You said this
on the
already.
LGBT.
That's fine. Thank you, Honorable. Honorable Padre Boache Dankwa. Yes, I'll get. I mean, what's your reading of this? I mean, you heard Omotala saying that this whole Richard Sky thing, it's something that was states, like you said. He's suggesting it's a state-sponsored, and that somebody's actually behind it. I don't know how you respond to this. Because of what the president said, he said he's aware, and then just after he spoke, the following day, Richard Sky is in court.
Tomorrow, LGBTQ plus lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, transgender. It's an interesting concept. More, I believe that as Christians we have our stance on this. As Christ has stated that he created them both male and female, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, or Eve and Evelyn. And so we have a biblical foundation to that. I don't know what we are going to do, really. And the reason I say this is that the world has become so globalized, extremely globalized, very, very globalized, that we can only be guided by laws and regulations. However, whilst we do that, we must also exercise some level of restraint. And the restraint should not just be in tolerance, but also in guidance. And the reason I state this is that, and I've raised this argument at various places, that we are aware that for us as Christians, we are in this world, but we are not of the world. And so we are aware that the king of Persia is the ruler of this world. What that means is that as the days go by and the end time draws nigh, there are a lot more things that we would see and concern with, and we have to contend with, which would be unthinkable, unimaginable, and out of the traditional thought of what we know. So the real question is, how do we contend with this beyond the laws that would be either assented to or not assented to, even though the bill has been passed by the people's representative? So I am seeking prayer for Ghana, because you see, the bill states very clearly that it's the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. So what's our Ghanaian family value? Because we must clearly define that and allow that to influence our decision. This week I sat in a parent forum for our school children. And one of the questions that one of the parents asked the principal was about LGBTQI and the school's position on it. And almost immediately, the school said, in our school, we don't allow it. Almost immediately. I think as a parent, I was pleased. And so what that means is that we all need to guide and guard our own environment and circumstances. So I don't know what is going to happen in the next few days. I don't know what the law says as the bill has been passed and as an issue is in court and the president is awaiting Supreme Court interpretation.
Must he await the Supreme Court interpretation
I'm
before
told
he
that-
discharges his responsibilities as executive president?
I'm told that the details of the writ that was sent to court was on the advocacy and the funding. Because as we are having this conversation, it's advocacy in
Not
one way or the other.
Not necessarily.
Well, we are talking about it. It's mileage.
I get it, but advocacy and having a conversation about an issue, because advocacy means deliberately you are telling people to do something. So,
But along the conversation,
somebody may be for it or against it.
exactly. And so it's all and the thoughts around our press freedom and the freedom of speech. I'm told that is what Richard Sky has sent to the court.
Right.
And I think that in this country, when you're president of the land, you will know everything that is happening. You'll be briefed. And so whether the president had it before it was sent to court, or he had it after it was sent to
President
court.
said it was in court. He knows.
The-
So that
no,
one is
but- no, but
don't give
he's-
that interpretation.
no,
So what he's saying is that even if the president
The
knows about
president-
it, it's not strange. He's the
it's not
president.
No, he
strange.
says, but the guy the writ hadn't been
Oh,
filed.
he says
so what
that's
did
why
he
he's
know?
saying that
It's not
as president,
strange.
he's privy to all kinds
I'm
of
saying that it
information.
wasn't filed. So was he speaking
No, the
recklessly?
president, it's possible for the president to know that it's actually it's being filed.
No, if you say it's being filed, it's different
Yes.
from if someone is in court.
Yeah, but the point he's making is that
That's why he
information
needed to. Oh, Masa.
It's not strange to him.
Let's stop
okay,
this
please
protest.
go ahead. Please
It's
go
not
ahead.
strange.
Yes.
But I've seen the reaction from the Christian community I align to, from the Islamic cleric I align to. Ghana is a moral country,
Yeah.
and morality doesn't encourage same-sex relationship. It's very clear on it. And so for me, we also need to ensure that we're making a decision, because the assenting to the bill as a law is a long-term decision.
True.
However, we have an economy that must thrive. We have an economy that must continue to grow. We have an economy that is also dependent on other external factors and other resources. And so we need to be circumspect.
So we must grow LGBTQ economy. Is that what you're suggesting?
Please go ahead.
I'm worried because he's a reverend minister.
Yeah, please no.
Burutala.
Please go ahead.
That reminds me of John Kumar.
Please go ahead.
Burutala.
Yes.
You know, so we need to be mindful, because the Zulus have a proverb that says that Ubuntu, Uguntu, Ugabantu, that you are who you are because of other people. You don't exist as an island. Ghana does not exist as an island. We coexist with other countries, and we are not self-reliant yet. And so whatever decisions we make must be at the backbone of what the impact would be.
Okay.
Even with our families, waking up this morning and coming, what's the impact of that on my own time, my own family, and the government? Being here representing the government, what's the impact of that? So every single decision we make, every single choice we make has its subsequent ripple impact and effect. But I think that very clearly there's no ambiguity about the fact that the Ghanaian people do not like this. There's no ambiguity about the fact that the people's representation has spoken the mind of the Ghanaian people. There's no ambiguity about that. And I'm very certain that the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, I'm very certain that he would make a statement on this to position himself and position the party.
Okay.
Because definitely, yes, it's an electioneering year, but we cannot do politics with an issue of morality.
So if you are calling
The
on
call
him to
for
stay
just briefly, the call for the flag bearer of the party to make a statement on it. Do you think it's a valid call? Just briefly.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that the vice president of
And the
Ghana
flag
and the
bearer.
flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party has stated that he's a man of himself. He's clearly distinguished himself very well at his vision board address at UPSA. he's made very bold statements with very bold solutions that would be implemented from the 7th of January 2025 should the Ghanaian people give him that opportunity on the 7th of December 2024 after voting him as president-elect. And clearly you could see the trajectory that he wants to have in terms of tax reforms, tax exemptions, the abolition of certain taxes, and all of that. So very clearly, you can see that he would be able to have a stance on that.
Problem.
And it's not a problem if he has a stance on it which is against what the executive wants, because he's going to be leading a new path and a new charge.
Then
And I'm sure that he would.
All right.
I'm very-
0249.
I'm very certain
Honorable,
he will.
please. Nanea has to take a bite. It's 0249 155 646. I hadn't forgotten that I didn't mention the WhatsApp line. It's 0249 155 646. So those of you who want to join us via WhatsApp, that's the line. 0249 155 646. Where do you stand on this?
You see, I just want to go back to what Justice Abdullah
said. Abdullah, the lawyer.
It's possible because he was playing football, his mind was a bit distinct. A bill is a legislative proposal. It's not a law.
It's not a law, yes.
Because he said it's a law. Since Parliament, it's not. A bill is a legislative proposal for enactment of a law. A bill becomes a law, a statute, after it is passed and it's signed.
Yes.
It is only becomes a law when it's assented to. That is it. A bill, it's only when it is assented to that it becomes a law. Because you cannot exact it if it is not assented to by the president of a nation.
He said that.
No, but he said
It's
It's a law that cannot be implemented.
But if
No,
the
but
law
it's not
cannot
a
be
law.
implemented, then that's not law.
It is not a law. How can you have a law that is
cannot be
idle?
implemented.
That is docile.
So you have a challenge with that.
Yes, but no, it's not a change. There's truth. A bill is a bill. A law is a law. A bill is a proposal for a certain situation.
So when we say Parliament enact laws, what do we mean?
Because when it is assented, it comes back and Parliament then approves of it as a law.
And in fact,
So the president signs the thing. It has to come back to Parliament.
Yes.
if the president refused to sign, and that's very important. Parliament can then make it a law by having to text
Yes.
Say
members
yes.
of Parliament.
Yes.
And that's
Say
it.
yes.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yes. But I'm
That makes
saying,
no sense of the president has
no,
sanctioned it.
if the president does not sign,
If he
If it's
doesn't.
into the separation
Yes,
of powers,
powers,
so that you
yes.
have absolute power.
I get it.
but
Okay,
if the
please go
president
ahead.
doesn't sign, but the point
Point
is
number
that
one, yeah.
I am surprised that the American ambassador was saying that she's a woman, I guess.
Yes.
That we will not get Americans coming to work for
That's
us.
true. He
What
said that.
percentage of Americans are LGBT?
No, she
can
said
only
even if
come
it's
to
one,
exploit
even if
us.
the best, if you have
No,
the
I'm
best,
saying no, but the best you don't have only one best. Why? You don't. Yes, you don't have only one best. So if we need people from America to come and work for us, or transfer some form of technology to us, the person needing to be LGBTQ, whatever. Do you get? And yes, and do you understand me? There, how many 250 million Americans or more? Are you saying that everybody is LGBT who has a certain expertise? No. I mean, they shouldn't do that. Ghana is a sovereign state. Yeah. At least they should give us that respect and respect our values. The point is also that when Justice Abdullah was saying, he's saying that the private interest should not override the public interest. And which Sky is going to court for. Which public interest is this? As far as our publics are concerned, we don't consider this group. Do you get me? In the scheme of things in this country, we do not consider this group. They are hidden. Do you get me? When you do journalism, you know, PR, there are various kinds of publics. When we draw our chart, this group is not openly identified. Because it is not part of our values. It is not part of the basis of our belief in God.
Yeah.
Both Allah, whatever, Muslim, African traditional religion, we don't agree to that.
Right.
You get me? So when we are drawing a chart for our publics, they are not there. So which is the public interest that Richard Sky is following? In whose interest? I don't know the segmentation, the percentage of people who are within this bracket. They are not even quantified.
We don't regard them.
We don't regard, because it is not part of our culture. And you see, the obnoxious side of it is that these days they are adopting children. It is psychologically wrong because how can I be in a home where I have two women? One is a father, one is a mother. I have two men. One is a father, one is a mother. And who should give birth to come and give to them? They don't want to have children. So who should give birth to come and hand it over to them?
But are you suggesting, again, back to that, because that's one of the issues that Richard Sky takes to court, but are you suggesting, for instance, that if you have a gay couple and they adopt a heterosexual
I
child?
said, who should have that? Look,
But
if,
no, it's a valid question.
please, we are.
But will they necessarily pass on their orientation
Why not?
to the
Because
child?
yes, because the child doesn't know anything else but that.
Right.
Most of these gay attitudes were acquired. Do you get me? Through association, orientation, friendships. They are totally acquired.
it's madness.
It is not genetic because at a point they said it's in their genes. Yes,
Right.
even if it is in your genes, where has it been established that it is in your genes? There are people who are tomboys. They remain tomboys. They don't, but they get married. Yes, they get married. Where is this one coming from?
It's madness.
So the point is that I'm also asking that why are we even making noise about all this? I mean, we need prayer and counseling. Oh, I'm serious. Because you see, if we even enact this law as a deterrent, are we going to put cameras in their rooms?
That's true.
Are we going to put cameras and put analogous cameras at the police headquarters, at the court?
No, we don't have any problem. We can see. But the point is,
I
don't
am
point
saying,
it.
No, but I'm not saying that if indeed we have a problem, but if we have a problem with what
yes,
they
because
do,
that is even more.
even in their rooms.
People
yes.
do all manner of things in their room.
But-
If
but-
you read the law,
But you see, Honorable, please, I am saying that the law is a deterrent.
Yes.
You don't have to do it. If you do it, you'll be jailed ABC. But what is the aspect of a national orientation and training and awareness? That this thing is not good for you, health-wise, everything, religion, everything.
Whether covertly or overtly.
Overtly,
It's wrong.
It's wrong. Because you see, if you even pass a law, and now that you have passed the law, then now they do it in their rooms. Do you get me? Who will see what is going on? And it will start spreading anyway. Because there is no orientation, national orientation to say that don't do this. There is no national prayer to say that God help us. The Prince of Persia is taking over our nation with this kind of attitude. Help us. We should run back to God. He's the only person who can solve this problem for us. Because you see, Moro, you have done a law. Don't you have laws that people shouldn't rob? Don't you have laws that
still have
people
a lot of
shouldn't
armed
rape?
robbers in the
You have a
town.
lot of armed robbers who go into people's homes to steal.
Every day
And
we're
if they are
catching
not caught, they go scot-free.
Yeah.
So if a law is put down, good, it's a deterrent, good. For us, it shows that. But what about what is happening in their rooms? Because if we put the law down and say, oh, we have a law, okay, we will do it in our rooms. If a house is sitting in East Legon somewhere, there is nobody there, people go in and come. Do you say that you're going to search what is going on? As long as you don't have any evidence to the fact, when you even go and search, you find beds well laid and all that. Well, can you say something is going on?
So I get the point. So that the law will just say, okay, it's okay, you can do it, but make sure you're not caught.
But it's
And you're saying that kind of mindset is wrong.
It's wrong.
It should be that don't do it at all.
Don't do it. Don't start.
No, you're not getting what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. You see, when we focus on the law, in a way, subconsciously, what we're saying is that there's nothing wrong with it for as long as you're not caught.
No, but we have laws that are against stealing.
Yes, but
Those
people are
laws-
still stealing.
No, exactly. So it means that
No, but I'm saying that
So you're saying
stealing,
the same thing. So she's saying that
Please,
the law is not enough.
honorable stealing is evidential.
Yes.
I am sitting here. I leave my phone here. I'm gone. But come, my phone is not here. You become a suspect. Paul Gay becomes a suspect.
I become a suspect.
The
Everybody
producer
here.
become a suspect.
Yes.
So we start investigating.
Exactly.
If I am LBGT, whatever that nonsense, if I am, excuse my language, please.
no, you don't have apologies.
No,
for
I'm
this.
talking about the people who are watching me.
No,
I
but
don't
those
want to
people
use them.
agree it's nonsense.
Yes. So, and I go into my
Don't you
room and I go and do it.
We're saying it's fine.
No, who will see?
No, we're saying it's fine.
That is
And
because
that's the problem.
because we are saying it's fine.
Yeah, it's
because
okay.
it is not evidential.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
And that's a major problem.
I am telling it is not evidential.
I get what you're saying.
There is no evidence to what I have gone into my room to go and do. If I enter my friend's house, who is also a female, I'm going to visit my friend. She lives alone. No law bars her from living alone. I go and do what I come out. I sit in my car. Do you come and test?
I get it.
Besides, even the women, even if you are caught, how can you go and test? What evidence are you going to give that I stand before a judge and I engage in LGBTQ?
There are issues.
No, I'm asking you. How do you check me a woman? Because I've heard they use tools. They call them sex toys. You won't see anything. Maybe with the men, you see something in their anus that there are some lesions. Yes. But with the women, how do you find it? The person sleeping with the cocoa, that I'm in love with the cocoa.
Yes, queer.
Queer, yes.
Queer, yeah.
How do you find out that cocoa in his car is used for that? Somebody is in love with the pencil. This is my husband. I go to parties and I have the pencil in my pocket. And I'll be massaging the pencil whilst I sit there. How would somebody know?
I mean,
so for me,
it's not madness. What
yes.
is it?
So establishing proof will be very difficult.
Establishing proof will be very difficult. It is
Have you thought about this?
It is a law of deterrence. But the point is that how do you establish the proof? So for me, as the law is passed, which should be accented, because we are a sovereign state, all these people who are talking, they go and sit with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has one of the most obnoxious laws concerning LGBT.
It's not obnoxious. It's a very sensible
Yeah,
law.
No,
yes.
not in a negative.
Not in the negative.
I think the word is stringent.
Yes,
I think stringent.
Yes,
Stringent.
some of the stringent laws.
Laws,
But
yeah.
America goes to sit with Saudi
And they're
because
fine.
they have looked after themselves well.
Yeah, you can't-
It is time for us
Yeah.
to look after ourselves well.
Go back to
It is
commercial
time for us
ideology.
to harness our own potential. Because you see, in America, there are laws that are so stringent against the African community. Ghanaians, I'm saying that there's one funny law I'll never forget. It caught my sister in America. Backyard. When your backyard overgrows to a certain level, you'll be taken to police station.
Hey.
Yes. She traveled and the person who was taking care of her place forgot. She came back and there was a letter for her to go to the county police because her backyard had overgrown.
Oh.
And that is a law. Do we interfere in the laws that they do against our people over? Do we even interfere the way they treat our people when they go for visas? We don't. That is the way they want to do it. You go to American embassy, people are standing under trees. Yeah. Big people.
Well,
I
the
went
human
to
rights
I went to an embassy and saw a big minister going himself to do everything himself. No protocol. Before there was even protocol in our time, you could do it for them. So I am saying that why are you interfering in our laws, our way of life? We want to give birth because we want to fulfill what God said in the Bible.
Yeah.
He said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And we are going to replenish it. Come what may. We won't give birth for somebody to take that child and say that, oh, we are two people, we want a child. Why do you want a child? Because you have chosen a path that does not give children. So why do you want a child? And I believe there should be a lot of awareness creation.
I agree with you.
A lot of counseling centers. Because some of the people are even in this kind of thing. They don't even know why they are there.
The law, if you check the bill, it involves all these
All of
things.
it. Council, yeah. It's a bill.
So we need to really look at it. It is very important.
All right. Now, our second topic, it is actually turned out to be a third topic because we had to discuss John Kumar. John Kumar is extremely important. He's our friend. And so we'll look at Professor Jane next week because Professor Jane, I'm sure, is going to be officially outdoored and so on and so forth from next week. And so when we come back next weekend, depending on how things go, we'll discuss Professor Jane. But I want to say a very big thanks to Jantua, who is the former General Secretary of the CPP. She has a new NGO. It's just that she hasn't officially outdoored it yet. I'm sure when she
longer.
Oh, really? It's COSECA.
COSECA.
What's
Yes.
COSECA?
Coalition of Stakeholders in Energy Contracts and Arrangements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, one of these days we have to do
Yes.
a one-on-one.
Yeah, we have to
because
do
we
a-
need to do some public education on what
Yeah.
your NGO does. All right. I want to say a big thanks to Pagri Bachidanko as well, who's a government spokesperson on governance.
Yeah, we want to hear
he
Dr.
says,
Baumia.
he said he doesn't have any issue with that. I mean,
Moro,
he
give
thinks it's a good
me-
idea.
I forgot. You see, Dr. Baumia has been too silent.
Okay.
If it is the talk, he can talk economics with things that doesn't come to pass.
Yes.
Ever since this thing started, this man has been quiet from
quiet.
day one. We want to know what he thinks. If he wants to be president of Ghana,
He should let
he
us
should
know.
come and tell us. Otherwise, already.